Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. It's great to see so many familiar faces here this morning, and thank you to the City of London for hosting us at this fabulous venue. I'm Sara Hyde, I'm the chair of the Fabian Society, and you'll hear a little bit more from me later. But my first task this morning is to welcome you and to just run through a few of the logistical things about our time here together today. So if you haven't already, please make sure you've picked up one of the lovely agendas produced by the Fabian team. It tells you everything you need to know for the day. It tells you about registration and timings. The registration is just through there. If you've somehow managed to slip in here without registering, please make sure you've got all the kit for the day. And we're going to alternate plenary sessions in the Great Hall, and breakout sessions in the West Crypt and the Old Library. The Old Library, the print room, which are upstairs, and the Livery Hall. But it's a beautiful but potentially confusing venue if you haven't been here before. So we've given all of the Fabian staff red lanyards with little staff labels. So they're here to help you should you need any guidance during the day. There is a lunch break between 1:30 and 2:30 so that we can be all recharged and ready to go for the rest of the day. I hope you've all found the tea and coffee on the way in, which is always helpful on a Saturday morning at a conference. The toilets are near the cloakroom, by the gallery, by the entrance that you arrived through, and very excitingly, Fabian merchandise is available this year, yes. So you can knock yourself out at the merch table in between times. All of our staff are here to help you and to make sure you have a really, really excellent day. The first real speech of the day is from our hosts, from Chris Hayward, who is the Policy Chairman at the City of London Corporation. So please put your hands together and give a warm, warm welcome to our host, Chris Hayman. Thank you, Chris.
Well, a very good morning, everyone, and thank you so much to Councillor Sara Hyde, the chair of your society, as well, of course, as being one of our next-door neighbours in the great London borough of Islington. So thank you, Sara, for the introduction. People don't really understand what the policy chair of the City of London Corporation is, but you will understand in this room, I know, if I simply explain it as the fact that I'm the political leader of the City of London Corporation. And on behalf of our corporation, can I welcome you all to Guildhall for today's Fabian Society New Year Conference 2025 with the very, I think, appropriate theme of looking ahead to Britain 2030. Well, what a great way to spend a Saturday. May I say how delighted I am that at this stage of January, when we're not far into the year, you've chosen to be here rather than, no doubt, keeping up your New Year's resolutions by heading to the gym. Now, a special welcome, if I may, and congratulations to Jo Dromey as the new General Secretary of the Fabian Society. Jo, we were very sorry to lose you from Central London Forward, based here in Guildhall, but I've no doubt you will do a sterling job in your new role as General Secretary. Now, the City of London Corporation is delighted once again to host the Fabians here at our historic headquarters, the seat of city government since the 15th century. We're always keen to facilitate and to be part of crucial policy debate and discussion. And today's discussions take place in a very different context from last year, as now, of course, there are numerous members of the Fabian Society in government, including a Fabian Prime Minister, Fabian Chancellor, both of whom we have been pleased to welcome here at Guildhall in recent months. And this society was influential in drawing up the Labour manifesto. And considering that Labour won the election with a majority of 174 on that manifesto, I think congratulations are in order. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, the debate on Britain's future continues, and we want that debate here in the City of London. We are the oldest elected local government in the world, but we are much more than that in the city, partly because of our history. We have a range of special responsibilities across the capital, in addition to our local authority duties here in the Square Mile. Working with London boroughs, we support housing, heritage, open spaces and education across London. We sponsor academies in Islington, in Hackney, Newham, Southwark and most recently Lambeth. The City of London Police has a national lead role in tackling economic crime and fraud, addressing the most common type of crime in the United Kingdom, while also making our city one of the safest business districts in the world. And as a crucial part of this business district, we are developing the Square Mile as a centre for culture, with the City Corporation continuing to be the fourth largest funder of culture in the United Kingdom. Our Guildhall School of Music and Drama, for example, once taught a very promising young musician who then decided to pursue a legal career instead and ended up as our Prime Minister. So we were proud that Keir Starmer is an alumni of the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. And as well as governing the city, we work to ensure that it remains the leading global financial centre, supporting the whole of the United Kingdom's financial and professional services sector. That's an industry which provides over 2.5 million jobs across the country, two-thirds of them, I should say, outside of London, and which contributes 12.3% of the UK's total tax receipts, greater than the government's annual education budget and over half the health budget. But more than that, financial and professional services, we believe, are the engine of the UK economy and one of our unique selling points to the world. So whether it's by enabling someone to buy a home or to start a business here in Britain, or developing new green finance products to finance the transition to net zero across the world, it's the UK's financial service sector which is an indispensable industry. So our number one priority aligns with the government's number one priority, that of economic growth. For without growth, we cannot tackle the challenges, social, environmental, educational, which Britain faces as we look ahead to 2030. We want to work with government and stakeholders across the board, including Fabian's, to unlock the growth the United Kingdom needs, growth which has to be inclusive and sustainable. Indeed, I've just returned yesterday from the World Economic Forum, where I was on a panel with the Chancellor, the Business Secretary and the Minister for Industry, talking about how we can do just that here in Britain. So we look forward to the debate, the discussions and the ideas being shared here today, and we wish everyone a really, truly successful conference. It's now my pleasure to hand back to Sara. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Chris, and thank you for welcoming us here this morning. Myself and the Executive Committee and staff team are absolutely delighted to welcome you here today. As Chris said, we recognise there are many, many other things that you could be doing with your day. So first and foremost, we want to say thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I mean, we literally couldn't do this without you. So thank you. Thank you for booking trains, arranging childcare and whatever else you've already done this morning. I've already heard one rail replacement bus story. Whatever you've already done this morning to be with us today. And as you might imagine, we are especially delighted to welcome you to this, our first Fabian New Year conference under a Labour government in 15 years. Come on, yeah. Because I know that for many people here that was lots of Saturdays spent in the cold and rain despite it being a June-July campaign. So thank you for everything you've done so that I can stand here and say that. And it's been a really exciting week for us as the Fabian family. Our new General Secretary, Jo Dromey, began working full-time with us, and you'll get to hear from Jo shortly about all the incredible plans for 2025 and beyond. So part of my task here today is to do a bit of a recap of the Fabian highlights of 2024. And yet, I've got only 10 minutes for this speech. So I'm going to miss a few things that you might have considered highlights, so please bear with me. Whether I want to talk, at length about the number of incredible Fabian MPs and frontbenchers and the Fabian Prime Minister we have, through to all the achievements of the staff team. I do just want to take a moment to thank the previous General Secretary, Andrew Harrop, because over 13 years, through lean times and through the times of plenty, Andy kept the organisation going, producing relevant and interesting work and developing the thinking within the Labour movement. Last year was an exceptional year for us, but it wouldn't have been possible without Andy's leadership for over a decade. I also want to thank the Interim General Secretary. Thank you. Very, very appropriate applause, thank you. I also do want to thank the Interim Secretary, Luke Rakes, and the rest of the staff team. So I know lots of the staff team are still busy at registration, but if you're on the staff team, can you stand up? Is it just Rory? Or wave? Maybe we'll all just wave at Rory and Jo. Round of applause for these absolute legends. Thank you. The team works so hard day in, day out, and behind all the very visible public outputs, there's a lot of unseen work, there's a lot of sacrifice, there's a lot of unglamorous things going on, and so it's wonderful just to have a moment at this point in the year to say thank you to the team. I want to thank the Arts and Culture team who developed cultural policy last year, the editorial team for producing the brilliant Fabian review that lands on your doorstep, and plenty of high-quality pamphlets for you to enjoy. I want to thank the events team for organising this conference and over 30 events last year. And I want to thank you, the members and the membership team who supported, we have over 6,000 members that they were supporting across the country through local societies, through Welsh Fabian, Scottish Fabian. So thank you too to the membership team. And thank you to the research team. As this Labour government began its gargantuan task, rebuilding the country after the mess left by the Tories, it is brilliant to see so many Fabian policies at the heart of plans for a decade of renewal. Fabianism has long been associated with big ideas for tackling the urgent social crises of the day, and given the entrenching poverty and inequality from the last 14 years, Fabianism feels as relevant today as it did in 1884 when we were founded. And I'm sure members here are aware we've been working really closely with the front bench, both developing and proposing policies that have been adopted for delivery. We worked directly with Unison and Wes Streeting and his team to deliver the work on the plans for a national care service, and we're briefing senior civil servants in those early weeks of the Labour government. We've developed policy on employment rights and work, talking about carers' leave, rights for the self-employed. We've worked with community and Prospect and BECDU trade unions on this, on how to create healthy, inclusive 21st century workplaces. We've contributed to Labour's ambitious plans to alleviate the housing crisis, and as a local councillor, this is very, very close to my heart. From improving private rented sector homes to how to unlock that new development and helping to upgrade social housing and council housing too. And there's more. Building on the successes of 2024 in the past few weeks. I mean, it's only the third week of January, and we have published Ben Cooper's work, Home Comforts, on housing quality, looking at tackling non-decent homes in the private rented sector and how to fund more. We've published a pamphlet on pensioner poverty, Mature Decisions by Saskia Otto, which looks at the 2 million pensioners who are still in poverty despite their state pension. Fabian thinking addresses this issue too. And we are imminently completing work on a whole host of topics, so keep your eyes peeled for work on devolution, on living standards, so crucial to our country at this time, looking at how government departments could work together to actually deliver living standards improvements, addressing early years poverty, addressing power inequalities. This is one of my favourite pieces of work that's been in development for several years, looking at how in control, so how powerful do people feel over different aspects of their everyday lives. I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert for this. There are large gaps and demographic inequalities in perceptions of power and control across Britain. I think this is going to be one of the most important pieces of work the Fabians have done for a long time, and it has all kinds of ramifications for our country and our government. There's work coming on work and health. There's work coming on employment rights. I mean, it's going to be a great year, and Jo is really going to give you a bit more detail on these plans. The other great highlight for me personally of 2024 that I have to mention in terms of the Fabians was the relaunch of the Young Fabians. It was a great success, and that is chiefly down to the incredibly hard work of the 12-person executive committee, and in particular I want to thank Francesca Reynolds, Patrick Cook and Rosie Jackson. Could we please give them a round of applause? Thank you. I mean, these are volunteers who have poured their blood, sweat and tears into making this a success. So if you are 28 or under and you want to get involved with the brilliant work of the newly revitalised Young Fabians, please look them out today. They run a fellowship programme to help people develop skills. You could write for their publication antics. You could drop into their book club, 5th of February with Harriet Harman. They would be delighted to welcome you to any of their events. It's a really exciting time to get involved there, and I cannot thank that executive committee enough for what they've done. So, 2025, hello. Our country and the world is in a difficult, troubling and complex place. But we have a Labour government, and we have each other. And tackling things together in these times is absolutely the key. We do not journey in this alone. Have a little look around, have a look at your neighbours, maybe you know them, maybe you don't, the people behind you. This is where the decade of national renewal starts. We are the people that are doing this hard work that our country needs. So I also do just want to take the opportunity to thank the people that have carried me and journeyed with me, Fabian women, over the last few years, whose support in me doing this role well has been completely essential. I want to thank Sonia Adazera, Mariana Masters, Anya Sizer, Susie Stride and Christine Megson. Thank you. More than ever, we really do need reminders that we can achieve more by the strength of our common endeavour than we can alone. This really is not a solo sport. It is not about individual achievements or platforms. It's about our power as a collective to think, to hope, and to create ideas and envision a more equitable society and the elimination of poverty. These things are possible. And as I come into land, I want to quote somebody far more eloquent than me. The songwriter Nick Cave notes, "Hope rises out of known suffering and the defiant and dissenting spark that refuses to be extinguished." Now, we know in this room how much our world and our country, our friends and our neighbours are suffering. The cost of living crisis, rising child poverty, the impact of Tory underinvestment and 14 years of spending cuts, wars globally, and the rise of populist national leaders, sadly, across many nations. However, the lovely Nick Cave goes on. Hopefulness is not a neutral position. It is adversarial. It is the warrior emotion that can lay waste to cynicism. Each redemptive or loving act, as small as you like, keeps the devil down in the hole. It says the world and its inhabitants have value and are worth defending. It says the world is worth believing in. So Fabians, let's keep hoping, let's keep thinking, discussing, Fabianing, if that's a verb, and let's do it together. Because you are worth believing in. We believe in you. We believe in collectivism. We believe in Fabianism. You are worth believing in. This country and its inhabitants are worth believing in, and together with this Labour government we can bring change. Thank you for being here with us today. I look forward to speaking with all of you about how we're going to do this, and now it is my utter pleasure to welcome our brilliant new General Secretary, Jo Dromey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This Fabian New Year conference is going to be a bit different from what we've been used to in the last few years. So we're going to hear from Labour cabinet members who are in government and changing our country. As Sara said, it's the first Fabian New Year conference in a decade and a half where we're in government. And despite the challenges ahead, we must remember that the election last year was a fantastic achievement for our party and for our movement. It means that the Labour Party has once again got the privilege, the responsibility and the opportunity to make a difference to people's lives in the UK. This conference is also my first as General Secretary, as Sara said, and I'm really humbled and deeply honoured to be taking on this incredibly exciting role. And I also needed to just start with a few thank yous. So first, thank you to Sara, our fantastic chair of our Executive Committee, and all of the members on our Executive Committee for their work and for putting their trust in me. Thank you to the outstanding and incredible team at the Fabian Society. It's a small but incredibly mighty team. We've organised this incredible event today, and thank you for all of your work and for making me feel so welcome. I want to reiterate Sarah's thanks to my predecessor, Andrew Harrop, who contributed so much to the Fabian Society and our movement over the last 14 years. And thank you too to Christopher Hayward and the City of London Corporation for hosting us in this incredible venue today. But most of all, I want to thank the hundreds of members that are here with us today. I want to thank the thousands of members across the country, because you are the lifeblood of the Fabian Society. You produce the ideas and the dynamism that drives our movement, and your support and your contribution is incredibly appreciated. The first 6 months back in government have been far from easy, but nothing worth doing ever is. We inherited a deeply toxic legacy. The economy had stagnated, leaving workers facing the longest cost of living crisis since Napoleon and putting our public finances under growing pressure. The Conservatives had failed to invest when borrowing was cheap, leaving us with crumbling infrastructure and an acute and growing housing crisis. The Labour government inherited public services which were on their knees. Prisons full to the brim, local authorities on the verge of bankruptcy, and the NHS waiting lists at record levels. We must never let people forget the mess that the Conservatives left this country in. But pinning the blame where it lies will only get us so far. Labour will only win the election and complete the decade of national renewal that we desperately need if we deliver improvements in public services that voters will see. And Labour will only retain the trust of the electorate if we grow the economy in a way which workers will actually feel. And that is what Labour has set out to do, and that's what we're here today to discuss. The Fabian Society has got a long and proud history. We helped found the Labour Party over a century ago, and we've influenced its development ever since. And the original principles of the Fabian Society, as Sara said, are as relevant today as they ever were. The founding Fabians recognised that poverty was not an individual failing, but a social disease. And while we've made progress in tackling poverty, the battle's not yet won, and over 4 million children today are still growing up in poverty. The original Fabians were internationalists, and they believed that we should work together across borders to build a more peaceful and prosperous world. And this remains utterly essential today if we're to tackle the climate crisis, address global poverty, and ensure our security. And the original founding Fabians were municipalists. They believed that giving power to local communities made for a stronger society. And we are delighted today to be working with a Labour government committed to devolution, who have won power in order to give it away. And while we've got a long and proud history, the Fabian Society has also got a crucial role to play in the future. We're committed to helping Labour deliver on the decade of national renewal that our country desperately needs. And as the Fabian Society, there's 4 big things that I think we need to do in the months and years ahead. First, we are a strong and steadfast ally of the Labour Party, and so we will bring together the best ideas on how we can deliver their missions. We'll set out how we can drive growth in a way which really works for working people, with more high-quality jobs, boosting incomes, and addressing the cost of living crisis. We will examine how Labour can deliver on their ambitious target of 1.5 million new homes, and crucially, how we can build the new generation of council housing that we need most. And we will continue working with Wes Streeting, who we're delighted to be joined by today, to shape the National Care Service so that we can provide people with the care that they need and care workers with the dignity that they deserve. But second, while we are a loyal and supportive friend of the Labour Party, we're also a critical friend. So we will encourage Labour to grasp the big issues which they may otherwise fear to touch. From charting a closer economic and strategic relationship with Europe, which moves on from the disastrous Brexit and which unleashes growth, to exploring how we can reform our tax system in order to narrow stark inequalities and fund the improvements in our public services that we so desperately need. Third, we will work with Labour across the UK to develop a compelling policy offer and political platform. The Scottish Fabians and the Welsh Fabians will help shape the manifestos ahead of the vital Holyrood and Senedd elections next year. We will work with Labour mayors across the country, and we'll be launching a new Fabian councillor network, and I hope councillors in the room will get involved in that. And as we approach the next general election, we'll help Labour do the very difficult thing of renewing an office, building an offer which inspires hope in an era of anti-politics and which counters the growing threat of the populist right. Finally, we will support the health and vitality of our movement. We'll continue to be a broad church, providing an open and comradely space for all to support discussion and debate through our publications and through our events. And we will continue to develop leaders in the Labour movement, both through the young Fabians who have done a fantastic job over the years and the Fabian Women's Network as well. We are only able to do this work because of the contributions of thousands of members across the country and the support of partners who share our values, from trade unions and businesses to charities and foundations. And we've got really big plans for the year ahead, and we're always keen to forge new partnerships, both for research and events, so do get in touch. The challenge that Labour faces in government can feel immense, and indeed they are. But we must always remember that being in government is a great privilege, a huge responsibility, and a real opportunity. It's an opportunity to put our values into practice, to change the country, to tackle inequality and injustice, and to improve the lives of all of our citizens. The Fabian Society has long been a place where some of Labour's best ideas have been born and nurtured, and that is needed now more than ever. We will continue to bring our ideas, our ambition, and our commitment to a more equal society. We will work hand in hand with Labour as they deliver the decade of national renewal, supporting them, challenging them, but cheering them on. If you haven't already, I would really welcome you joining the Fabian Society and help shaping our work going forwards. I hope you enjoy your conference, and I look forward to working with you all. We'll now be kicking off the first 4 of our breakout sessions. So we've got the Britain's Means Business session in the old library, the Britain Centre Stage session focused on our arts and creative industries in Livery Hall, the Growth Worth Sharing session on how we grow the economy in a way that benefits all of our people and communities in the West Crypt, and beyond Britain's borders, setting out how we navigate an increasingly complex and challenging world in the print room. I hope you really enjoy your conference. I'm incredibly proud and pleased and delighted and humbled to be here with you. And I look forward to working with you and with the Labour government to build a better country for all of our citizens. Thank you very much.